Hey there guys, welcome back to my movie review series. So, today I'm going to be looking at a movie called Any Day, also known as Fighting Demons. This is one of those movies that has a different name depending on the region. I believe in America it's called Any Day, over here it's called Fighting Demons. It's a little bit confusing, but it's one of those situations. And yeah, as I mentioned in my last review where I reviewed the movie Dying in the Light with Nicolas Cage, I was talking in that review about how I was recently in the pound shop just picking up obscure movies, movies I'd never heard of. And yeah, just wanting to do some random reviews. I had a weird feeling that I wanted to watch some movies that I'd never seen before and give them a review just for fun, just for something to do. And yeah, this was one of those movies that I picked up. And it's weird. I'm having a bit of a deja vu here as I make this video because what I said in that video, I'm pretty much going to be saying the same thing here because that movie, Dying of the Light, got absolutely slaughtered by critics. I mean, I went on to Rotten Tomatoes and it had like 8%, and had critics talking about how bad it was. And basically, what I was saying in the video was, yeah, it's not a great movie. I mean, it's nothing special, but I think that giving it 8% and saying it's dog shit garbage, this, that, and the other, I found that a little bit disingenuous because nowhere near. I mean, it was nowhere near that bad, put it that way. And again, I'm having a deja vu while I make this one because I feel the exact same way about this movie. I mean, after seeing this movie, I had a look online just like I did with that one, and I saw that this movie got trashed even worse. This movie got, I believe it got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is absolutely shocking, out of quite a few reviews as well. And I went on IMDb, I looked at some of their reviews. People are just trashing this movie. All the verified critics are saying that this movie was terrible, like the worst thing they've ever seen. It was dog shit garbage, this, that, or the other. And I'm just like, I think I live in a parallel universe or something, because if I'm being perfectly honest, and I know if you guys have seen the mainstream criticism of this movie, what I'm about to say is going to sound pretty weird because I thought this was a pretty damn good movie. Despite the fact this movie has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, despite the fact it got absolutely panned and tore apart critically, I think this was a decent movie and I really had no problem with it. So this movie stars Sean Bean. Now, I really like Sean Bean as an actor. Ever since he played Boromir in Lord of the Rings, I've always enjoyed him as an actor. I think he's one of the best actors in the country, if I'm being honest. And he plays a former boxer who, in the beginning of the movie, is at a party, gets drunk, gets in a fight, and ends up, unfortunately, beating a man to death while he's intoxicated. This, of course, leads to him going to prison, and he gets sentenced to 12 years in prison. The movie then does a big time jump, 12 years later when he finally gets out of prison. And it's essentially about him trying to get his life back on track. Now, saying it out loud, it sounds a little bit cliche. I mean, we've seen other movies like this, we've seen movies. One movie that this kind of reminds me of, in a sense, is the movie Jawbone, which came out a couple of years back. It was a British boxing movie, and it had sort of a similar tone and a similar sort of message behind it, this, that, and the other. But I actually personally preferred this. I didn't think this was a bad movie at all. And just so anybody knows, I mean, this isn't exactly an action movie. This is more of a drama, more of a sort of an uplifting, character-driven movie. There's not a whole lot of action. There is a little bit of action here and there, but it's very, very few and far between. There are some like training montages and stuff like that. Sean Bean's character kind of uses his boxing training to kind of focus his energy and give himself a little bit of stability and stuff like that. And a big bulk of the movie is him basically just trying to get his life back on track and trying to readjust after being in prison. He ends up living with his sister and her son, who's of course his nephew. And he has sort of a sweet, like, father-son type relationship with his nephew, which is a little bit heartbreaking. And there's a few scenes between them in this movie where, he's trying to be a good uncle and a good role model, but obviously because he's been removed from society for so long, he doesn't really know how to do that. He also tries to get himself a job, get himself a relationship, and it's just this one guy, played by Sean Bean, basically trying to sort his life out and make up for lost time, be good to his sister. And he's also dealing with alcoholism, because before he went to prison he was an alcoholic, and he got clean in prison, and that's a big theme of the movie, is him constantly having to face temptation, and trying to just sort his life out. And I didn't think this was a bad movie at all. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm absolutely flabbergasted as to what the critics saw with this movie. Now, is this a great movie? No, it's not a great movie. Okay, it's definitely not like anything spectacular, but as far as it being like a character-driven, uplifting, well-acted, well-filmed, well-made movie, I really had no problem with it. I mean, Sean Bean is excellent in the lead role, and I really, really did like and root for his character. And the whole supporting cast, I don't really know many of these actors, but the supporting cast did a great job with what they were given. There is a child actor in the movie, and I think that child actor showed a little bit of inexperience, but I don't think he did a bad job. And as far as the negatives with the movie, what I will say is that there's one negative I have with it. It's one thing that happens towards the end of the movie, which was, in my opinion, unnecessary. They didn't really need to add that. They could have, in my opinion, the ending of the movie and what basically happens at the very end would have been a little bit more earned and a little bit more uplifting if this one incident didn't happen. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to spoil the story, but nonetheless, I just think that was an unnecessary addition to the movie. It's as if they felt that the movie needed more drama. And if I'm being honest, it didn't really need more drama. I was enjoying the movie as it was, and I was enjoying sort of seeing this character get his life back on track. And it was interesting for him to face a roadblock, basically, something that drives him towards maybe going back to that life he was in, like going to prison and alcoholism and stuff like that. He obviously did need a test, a challenge, to sort of develop as a character, but I just think they took it a little step too far, if you know what I mean. And they could have done a different thing to, to give him that challenge. It could have been something a little bit less dramatic. But nonetheless, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I didn't think it was at all predictable, like the bloody Rotten Tomatoes shill critics were saying. I've honestly no idea. I'm flabbergasted. I've no idea what it was the critics hated about it. I really don't. I thought it was a perfectly fine, uplifting movie. It was well shot. It was well acted. It had good dialogue. It had good cinematography. And I just thought it was a well-made movie. I really had no issue with it. And it was, like I said, it was cheap. Got it out the pound shop with a bunch of other movies I'd never heard of. And out of the ones I watched, I gotta be honest, this is probably the best one out of the bunch of them that I watched. So, yeah, I got no issue with this movie. And I think 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's pretty disgusting, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, I give this movie a solid 7 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think. Stay tuned for more movie reviews. Thanks for watching. God bless.